Greetings, family. How y'all doing? I am back for the second time today. My name is Cassandra Faye Floyd. I'm also known as the Daughter of the Fates. I'm the founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And as promised, at 9:36 on the dot, I will be facilitating a tarot reading this evening. I'm going to start doing this pretty regularly. Um, so what I'll be doing is doing little mini tarot readings. For more detailed, in-depth readings, you can reach out to me for now at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. You can email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com for more in-depth readings. For now, we're going to do mini readings from the Medicine Woman deck. And how this works is I will be showing you periodically how you can make your donation. It is $11 per question. And for this read, you can ask up to 3 questions. So $11 per question, and you can ask up to 3 questions for the time that I'm going to be on here. So let's just get it in gear. So the first card that I am pulling to start the process for myself is the resource card. The resource card in this deck is the magician card in the traditional deck. It's the magician card in the traditional deck. So talk about this card. In the meantime, I will tell you how you can make your donation to have your question answered. I'm going to talk about the resource card in the meantime. So let me just show you that. So I have a little makeshift little thing that I made up, the different ways that you can contribute, so I can get a better way to post this. If you're tuning in, this is more for IG. If you're tuning in via Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, then you can see across the bottom of the screen, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, the same information: Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App, which is how you can make your donation to get your question asked. So it's $11 per question, up to 3 questions for this call. Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. Okay, I'll hold that up periodically for those that want to have your card read on this evening. Ask one question for $11. And okay, so the card I pulled for myself to jumpstart this thing, which is a good one. It's the resource card, also known as the magician card, for those that are, more into the traditional tarot deck. So let me hold this card up for you again. The resource card in this deck, again, I read from the Medicine Woman deck. It's my favorite deck. So I'm just going to show this to you again, very up close and personal, so you can see the imagery. You see, before this person, they have all of the symbols of the minor arcana: the bowls, the pipes, the wands, and the arrows. The bowls, the pipes, the wands, and the arrows. Then behind them, they have the elements. Okay, those that are tuning in via StreamYard, which is YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, you can see before him, he's sitting kind of like, he's praying, he's meditating, hands raised. He's got the elements, or the symbols of the four minor arcana, which is the bowls, the pipes, the arrows, and the stones. The bowls, the pipes, the arrows, and the stones. in this deck. Okay? The resource card, also known as the magician card, is about power. It is about taking action with this power that you have. It is about, like, you see his position, you see his demeanor. He's confident. He's confident, you see, arms raised, everything he needs behind him in terms, everything he has acquired. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Experiences, wisdom, teaching, all that's behind him. All that's before him are all the elements that he needs to move forward. This is the number one card in the major arcana. Okay. Okay. So this card, especially in this deck. So one of the things that I want to reiterate about this deck, which I am obsessed with, I love this deck. I've been reading from this deck for about 7 years now, is that it is really centered. You just call the Medicine Woman deck. It is centered in channeling, tapping into this power that comes from particularly maternal feminine energy, and that energy being feminine. This first card in the deck it's like setting you forward on a journey, setting you forward on a mission. And so this all the tools, all the instruments are before him. You see the bowls, the pipes, the arrows, and the stones. It's like you have what you need. You've acquired the tools that you need. The pipes, what did I tell you guys last week? The pipes were. The pipes were us as an instrument, our flesh, our material experience as an instrument through which the divine makes moves in the material world. The divine needed a material experience and could not execute in the world without material, right? Think about the Bible. Think about the wise men of the Bible. Think about, the prophets of the Bible. Almost every single one of them, Elijah, Elisha, Joshua, who else? Moses, they had instruments, material instruments, through which they wielded magic or power or miracles on behalf of God, on behalf of spirit. That's what this card is about. This card is about being steadfast and forward, not giving your attention to those things that would attempt to distract you or sway you from course, right? It's talking about tapping into all of your tools, all of your creative energy. One of the things I feel like gets left behind when we start having a conversation about your creative gifts and tools and such is we completely place the energy, the power centered in human sexuality apart from our innate creative spirit. And I love this deck because this deck goes hard on being mindful to channel not only your gifts, but your innate power that is centered in your sexual creativity. Bring that to the table too. So this is a really good card. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One more thing I want to say about this card is about you have all these instruments, you have everything that you need. Your life has been a culmination of the experiences, the teachings, the lessons that you need to fulfill your life's purpose, because that's the only reason we're here. We are here to fulfill a peculiar life purpose in our relationship with spirit that only this particular manifestation or existence could give us, right? And in that, being mindful of all of this energy and all of this power and all of this wisdom, being mindful about where that energy, power, and wisdom is expended. That's a huge part of the card, is being mindful and deliberate and careful about where that power, where that energy is expended. One of the things this card talks about, I have the corresponding book that comes with it, is about, you know, and I harp on this a lot, and I know people think I'm, being like a hippie or whatever, and I'm not. I harp on our wastefulness, and I also harp on like being mindful of where we spend our money. Money and sex are the biggest, uh, two biggest manifestations of energy made, like material, right? And so the reason I'm talking about this is because we are so caught up in a lot of ways in the acquisition of resources, the acquisition of money. We work 40-hour work weeks. We got hustles on the side. We got ends to meet. We got, especially since, we're in a recession after COVID, we're just hustling all the time. But we don't stop long enough to think about the amount of human energy, magical energy that goes into the acquisition of this money. We make a decision to set our alarm clock, to wake ourselves up at 5:30 in the morning, to get ourselves dressed, to go to a job probably we don't like, to work said number of hours to ensure a said number of money that will allow us to maintain a quality of life that we need or desire, right? That's very thoughtful. We eat enough food. We do all the things to ensure that we are healthy enough and sane enough to go to this job that is going to afford us our ability to live, right? But when it comes to spending that money that we put so much concerted effort into materializing, into earning, we are not as thoughtful and deliberate about how we spend. Greetings, Letitia. About how we spend that money. And that money is power. It is an extraordinary amount of human energy, not just your human energy. If that money might be in your, that money might be in your possession. Okay, so Codina, I don't know if you are tuning in from IG or if you are tuning in from Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, but you can give me your question for, oh, okay, that's you, Letitia. Okay, cool. Okay, so you can ask your question. Let me just wrap this up about this first card that I pulled. Because even though the money might be in your possession, right? You earned the money, you went to work, you galvanized the resources. That your energy ain't the only energy that went into earning that. Your energy is not the only energy that went into the manifestation of this money that you now possess. There is a lot of human contact and a lot of human energy that has contributed to this money that you have now earned and you hold possession of it. And the problem is that we are not as thoughtful, not as deliberate when spending our money. So this card asks you, where do you spend your money? Do you spend your money with institutions, organizations, businesses that are in alignment with what it is you say that is important to you? What it is that is, are these businesses, corporations, institutions in alignment with what you say you believe, what you want for the world, or are they in direct opposition to that which you say you want for your life, for the world, what you want to accomplish in the world, or what have you? For example, we pay taxes. You understand? And that money that we earn to pay taxes goes to support institutions that we are not in alignment with, that we don't support, that we are opposed to. Me, I pay taxes, and I know that percentage, especially in this filthy city I live in, the majority of those taxes are going to fund the police department. That's problematic. So this card is really challenging you. Also, the other big powerful thing that I talked about, which is sex. This was a hard card for me when I first started pulling this card for myself. You understand? I've been single for a long time. I'm a grown up. I feel like I can have sex with who I want to have sex with. But that wasn't the issue. Quote, sexual liberation wasn't the issue. It was, this card asks, do you give the valuable sexual energy of yourself to one that you would like to become or be like? Is this person someone that you aspire to be? Meaning, are they better than you? Not better like in some, bullshit way, but is this somebody that you can learn from and then you can grow as a consequence of giving them the valuable energy that is your sexual energy? Or do you just give that energy away to whomever for your fix? That's a powerful card. Being mindful about where your energy is going, how you are expending this valuable essence. So that's all I'm going to say about that card. We have someone that has made a contribution for their question. So, Letitia, you can go ahead and tell me what your question is, and I will pull your card. So for those just tuning in, I want to thank you all for joining me this evening for our Tuesday Tarot read. If you are just joining, I'll hold this information up again. Your donations, until I can figure out a better way to do this, I just have my, information written out. So it's $11 per question. You can ask up to 3 questions for this period of time that we're going to be here. So the Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. For those of you that are tuning in from IG, this was really who it was for, because those of you tuning in from other areas, you should be able to see all of that information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. All right, so I'll just hold that up there for a moment so you can see the Zelle, the Venmo, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Letitia, what's your question, my dear? Letitia, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to post your question on screen. Trying to decide if I should travel to another state for work. Okay. Let's see. What state are you currently in? You in Georgia? I think you said you were in Georgia. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you the card, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the card. Let's see here. Okay, so for those of you tuning into IG, just so you can follow along, this is the card. Letitia, you're tuning in from YouTube. This is the card. So I'm going to hold it here for a minute so you can get a good look at everything that's going on in the card. This is the 4 of Stones. Okay. So in this card, you see that she is creating. Looks like she's making jewelry or something. She's surrounded in a space that looks safe, right? But there's not a lot in the space. You see? She's not surrounded by a lot of things. She's even on her knees doing her crafting. She's not sitting at a desk, right? You see, she's got the stone. She's crafting on a stone. It's not a bed or a couch. You don't see any furniture in there. Got the little basket there, right? The meaning of this card is about basic survival. What this card challenges, what this card is telling you is about like this card really is about starting new businesses or starting new ventures. And even though there might be hesitation in the starting of new ventures, because this card is about, all the stones are about your wealth, your abundance, what you have in your possession to support your life. So this card, the stones in this deck are the pinnacles, or the pinnacles, or the, what do you call it? The pinnacles or the coins in the traditional deck, right? And so this card is about what you possess, what you have. And that possession isn't just about stuff, it is about skills, experience. All of these things are the things that you possess. This card is about starting new ventures, and how new ventures can be risky. And in order to go forward in confidence with new ventures, take control of your life, it asks you. So, like I said, the name of this card is Basic Survival. This card challenges you when considering, weighing your pros and cons about some new venture, or some new decision that you have to make about money, about business, about something that has to do with your wealth, right? With what you possess, what you need, right? The stones represent all that material stuff that you need, plus the wisdom, the skills, those things that contribute to that. This card asks you to, as a matter of fact, I'll just read it, because this card is about assessing or weighing your pros and cons in this risky venture that is approaching, this decision that you have to make. This card challenges you to do an assessment of where you are right now and what you have. Where you are right now and what you have. It is asking you, do you have everything you need right now that you can take risks? So let me just read it to you specifically, because I like this card a lot. Let's see, just a blurb from it. Okay, this is the assignment for this card. Make a list of 3 objects you cannot live without. Make sure you have those objects. If you cannot acquire these things free and clear within 1 week's time, your list might be too technologically complex. Simplify it. This is about basic survival: food, clothing, shelter. It may also be housing at your mom's house, or a leaf hut in the woods, or finding a house within your means. It might mean a supply of grains, learning how to fast, or just learning how to cook for yourself. It may mean a good warm jacket, or postponing a fashion splurge. People are at different levels of maintaining a sense of physical security and comfort. Assess where you are right now. Arrange everything so that you can, within 1 week's budget and time limitations, set up a simple life you could fall back on if you lost everything. Now, having accomplished that, you are ready to take risks. You can risk everything while you put your new plan into operation. You can proceed worry-free because you've secured your basic necessities, your basic survival needs. Now, I'm not telling you to do anything that deep, you understand? However, when considering something as big as uprooting yourself from one state to another, this is what you have to consider. Making a basic, simple list of the pros and cons of that decision. Not your emotional shit, not your no, but I really love this stay. I really love this, that, and the other. Just a very strict, objective pros and cons list, and then move confidently based on the products of that list, right? There was one more thing I wanted to say about that. That because when you can do that, when you can be objective about the decision that you need to make, you can go forward with a level of confidence that can ensure success if you decide to make the move. Now, I'll pull one more card for you, Letitia. I just got chills. So the next card is a big one. This card, I'm going to show it to the IG folks first. This card is the Ace of Stones. This is a big one. It's another stone card. You see? So you see this big hand of wealth being handed down by spirit. This person is climbing towards this abundance that's coming, that's certain. And you see that person see the stone mountain that person is climbing up with all the faces of the ancestors in it. You see that? This is a big card. And it's interesting that you got two stone cards because, again, this is about your resources. This is about your resources. This is about what's coming. This is about what you have, right? This card really wants, okay, so listen, I just got goosebumps. So remember, you tuned in last night? So last night, was it last night? Yes, it was last night. Last night when I said, I have got chills everywhere, child. Look, last night when I did the astrology summation for this week and for October, remember, Letitia, last night I was saying that this week in particular, but also for the rest of the month, if you want answers, if you want to power up, if you need insight, if you need loot, whatever it is you need, that is starting this week, especially, but all the way through the month of October, get in touch with your ancestors. If you don't have an ancestral altar, erect one. It does not have to be deep. I got a deep one, but it doesn't have to be deep. It can be very basic. And I can teach you how to set up your ancestral altar. And my first ancestral altar was minuscule. You understand? It was a regular little $10 card table from Walmart with a white pillowcase, a candle, a cup of water, a candle, a cup of water, a small little plant, and the names, because I didn't have no pictures yet, and the names of the only ancestors whose names I knew written on a piece of paper in black and white. And when I tell you, immediately, my altar started working for me. Child, look, if you don't have your ancestral altar, your ancestral shrine set up, this is the week to erect it. And that's just word. This is the energy that we're in. We're approaching, we're in Libra season, but we have big movements happening over the next 30 days. So now is the time to power up. If you already have your ancestral altar, but you haven't been really doing much with it, start really focusing your attention on your ancestral altar. Okay? So the reason I'm telling you that is because here, as soon as I picked up the card, every hair on my body stood on end because look at all these ancestors in the stones supporting the ladder, supporting the journey to abundance, providing a level of certainty and surety in this climb to abundance being handed down by spirit. This is a powerful card. You said, let me just put what you just wrote down here. I just felt, yes. Remember about the wallets. That ain't no game. If y'all don't know, now you know. This Friday, under the light of that full moon in Aries too. That full moon is in Aries this week. This super full moon in Aries this Friday. Pull your purse out or your wallet out. Open it up big so that the light of the full moon can shine all the way in it. Do yourself an abundance check ritual if you into that. But this moon is the moon to power up. Okay, so I'm reiterating that because one of the things that I love about this card, so you see this big giant crystal in the sky. This crystal is not apart from the ancestors. I'm gonna tell you why. This card is so beautiful because it talks about this picture. I'm gonna keep holding the picture up. This picture is about all, what did I say? All the wisdom, all the knowledge, everything that we need is in the stones. What did I say in temple service on Saturday? The reason that this particular group of enlightened people, alive and conscious in this period, we make up what? The foundational stones for the next age. What makes us the foundation stones for the next age? Because of all the information, wisdom, lived experiences of all of our ancestors having been poured into us genetically, you see, that makes us responsible for, what did I say? Building the foundation, the stone foundation for the new age, right? This card talks about all these faces in the earth, in the mountain. I will tell y'all a story real quick. I went to, when I was driving across the country, moving, I didn't know I was moving to, but I was driving across the country from Florida to California, having this epic journey, digging crystals out the mountains in Arkansas, sleeping on Native American reservations all the way across the country, just having an extraordinary time. And I had this experience when I was in Arkansas mining for crystals, where I'm up on this mountain by myself. Nobody else came that day, so it was just me and the dude running the place out there all day. And I'm out there in this blood red dirt for as far as the eye can see, just picking up giant gravity so around me. Giant. Let me show you one of these crystals. I just have, because I'm telling you, I'm buzzing everywhere. Okay, I want to show y'all, share this with y'all. So I'm in the mountains of Arkansas digging for crystals. You understand? High in the mountains of Arkansas by myself. I'm so deep in the mountains, my phone I couldn't get no reception for days, digging for crystals in this blood red dirt, right? And I had all my little tools. I had bought like little chisels and little scrapey things and little buckets. And I was like trying to use a shovel and all the shit. And I went to get this crystal, and I could tell the crystal was big, but it was so embedded in the mud, I couldn't move it. I couldn't get it out. And I'm like struggling with it. I'm getting frustrated because I can't get this crystal. And I hear a voice as clear as I'm talking to y'all say, "Why are you mad? Move on. There's always more than enough." And I'm like, holy shit. What? And I'm telling you, just like I told y'all, right? It happened so many times. I was in this place by myself, no one around for 25 miles. And I could hear this earth talking to me. I could hear these crystals talking to me. Now, when I pulled up, this is redneck territory. This is Arkansas. So when I pulled up, there was a white boy sitting on the trailer where you go to pay to get into the mine, right? Stereotypical, like out of a movie. This dude had about like a lot of missing teeth. He had a rebel flag bandana on with long stringy hair, holy jeans, a flannel t-shirt. You understand? Just a regular good old boy, regular old redneck, right? After about an hour of me being out in that field by myself, he came out. He walked over to me. He was like, "You want some help?" I was like, "Sure, you can help me." We start talking. Now, this is a redneck, good old boy. Used to be a truck driver. He told me his whole life story. He was like, "Yeah, he went and reached. I've been digging in the same place for about an hour. He went and reached right next to me and pulled this big old crystal out." And I was like, "How did you? I've been here for an hour and I've been getting these little bitty crystals." He was like, "The crystals talk to me." I said, "Say what?" He said, "The crystals talk to me." I know it sounds crazy. He said, "The crystals, they talk to me." And so he proceeds to tell me the story about how he would get crystals for himself and take them down into the little witchy town, the next city over, and sell them wholesale to the little shops and stuff. And he used to keep them in his house to clean them and wrap them up, like wire wrap them and stuff. He said, "But I couldn't let them stay in my house no more. I was not getting any sleep." He said, "All night long, I could hear these crystals talking. I could hear them talking, laughing, screaming, crying. I was like, he said, I thought I was going crazy. He said, but as soon as I took all them crystals out of my house, it was quiet. He said, now I can come out here by myself and I can hear like full on conversations all around me. So when I went a few weeks later, maybe 2 weeks later, I was in I was in I had been invited by this native sister to come and stay on their land on the Taos Pueblo. No, it wasn't Taos Pueblo. It was White Mountains Apache Reservation in Arizona. So I had pitched my tent in these native people's backyard, and they don't cook inside. They didn't have a stove or nothing. So we cooked dinner every night on a fire pit. So we're all crowded around the fire pit one night. I'm telling her about the story about the redneck who was talking about the crystals, whispering to him all night long, right? And the girl's mom, who is an elder, she said he wasn't crazy. I know he wasn't crazy. The thing for me was that it was a redneck. If it had been some hippie chick, like, oh my God, the crystals, they talked to me, I'd have been like, oh, word, okay, cool, right? But this was a regular, non-spiritual, regular, everyday, average Joe Blow talking about the crystals they talked to. So I'm telling them this story, they're cracking up. But then the elder says, she's like, no, that's real. She said, in our tradition, we teach that these crystals are made up, literally, of the bodies of our ancestors. It is this biological material that we put into the ground over eons that has condensed, but it's not just their flesh that's in these crystals. It is every single lived experience, everything they ever knew, everything they ever learned encapsulated in these crystals. That it's not just the energy of the crystals and shit like that. I'm gonna tell you one more story because I digress like that. I just watched this documentary not too long ago, maybe a few weeks ago, about the rose quartz industry and how the majority of rose quartz that is circulating around the West is mined in Madagascar, and it is mined under pretty much what essentially amounts to slave labor of men, women, and children. And so there was this whole expose about where they would go. It was this German reporter, and she goes back and forth from Madagascar to like these bougie little crystal markets and all of this stuff, all these places that sell like the little rose quartz face rollers and gua sha tools and all of this stuff. And everybody's talking about, oh my God, the spiritual meaning and significance of rose quartz to heal the heart chakra and all of this shit, right? Every crystal that I use in my practice, by the way, I dug out of the earth myself, and I dug out of the earth after having deliberately made offering to the earth before pulling anything out the dirt. You understand? When I went up into the mountains in Arkansas, it was funny. A side note, the same guy, I brought a big basket from Walmart. I bought like regular little straw basket, and then I filled it up with fruit. Blueberries, like a little basket of blueberries, a little basket of strawberries, some peaches, some apples, all kind of shit. Put it in there, and one of the big giant rocks at the top of the mountain before you enter the mine, I left it there, right? And he's like, is something wrong with this fruit? I was like, nothing's wrong with the fruit. He was like, well, why you leave it there? I was like, you know what? It's just a thing. People, if they come in, they can have the fruit, whatever. But it's just a thing that I do. I like to give something before I take something, right? He was like, oh, okay. So every stone that I treat with in my practice, I had dug out of the earth myself. And it was because I wanted to be certain of the energy that was encapsulated in the tools that I'm using. And for me, as soon as I saw this documentary, I was like, people keep talking about the healing energy of rose quartz to heal the heart chakra and act as if the exploitation and oppression that went into extracting this material from the earth, that energy is not trapped inside these stones. Like, it's amazing to me how people cannot reconcile that somehow exploitation, blood labor, tears children having died in these mines to extract this rose quartz, and are barely receiving enough money in a day to feed one person. So the kids, the mama, and the daddy all got to work the rose quartz mine, and you don't think that has an impact on the energy encapsulated in these crystals. So when this elder tells me, no, that's our tradition. These crystals, that's why these native people went so hard about making it illegal to harvest turquoise. They were like, no, you can't harvest these crystals. These gems are literally, it's 10,000 years of our ancestors being buried on this land that has created this shit that you're trying to extract from the goddamn planet, right? Now, with that being said, I might tell y'all a long story on another day about my trip into the mines, but I'm still talking about this card, Letitia. And then Letitia says, and you wonder why you still ain't healed. That's what I talked about. What did I tell you on your first card? I mean, on the first card that I read tonight, the resource card. Being mindful of where you spend your money, because your energy went into raising that money, into earning that money. Being mindful and deliberate about how you give away your sexual energy and to whom you give it to. Not on some ultra morality type of bullshit, on the fact that your sexual energy is your most prized possession, and you should be giving it to one whom you can grow from. Is this somebody that you want to be like? This person that you're giving your sexual energy to? Is this someone who you aspire to be like? Meaning their values, what they hold dear, right? So let me tell you, the two biggest crystals that I picked out of that mine on that trip, that I just had to go get them off my ancestral shrine. But this one, you see how big it is? It fits barely in the palm. It's bigger than the palm of my hand. Can y'all see that here? And it came out the earth just like that. You see all the little branches on the top? And then how it's just a beautiful, solid, geometric crystal. See that? Y'all see that? So this one is like the centerpiece on my altar, right? Okay. Yeah, it's huge. It's not the biggest one. See that? You see how big it is? Fits in both my hands. Right? The second one is going to blow y'all mind. Okay, so all the crystals come out of the dirt blood red because the mud is blood red. The mud is like beautiful, soft, mushy blood red mud, and it stains the crystals. So in order for me to get the crystal this clean, you can still see remnants of the red in it. See there? You see the little remnants of the red in there? But it took a long time to clean these crystals. You have to get oxalic acid. You have to let them soak. You have to scrub them with a metal toothbrush. It's like a whole process. So that took a long time to clean. But this one, I decided to leave the red mud on it because the crystal is almost shaped like a heart. And so I was like, nah, I'm going to leave the mud on this one. But this is one that, like, you've seen those crystals where it's like flat on the bottom. It's got just a bunch of trees, like a bunch of branches on the top. But this one is shaped like a heart. Y'all ready? Let me see if I can get the light on it. Oh, yeah. See that? See all the little branches of the crystals on there shooting off of there? See that? So if I cleaned this one, and you see how it's shaped like a heart? Let me hold it back. You see that little thing like that? Yeah. So this is what it comes out of the dirt looking like. You see it's bigger than my hand. My hand, you see behind it, is bigger than my hand. This is what it comes out of the dirt looking like. See how they're all the crystals on it are stained red, like an orangish red, right? And then the back is like little mini crystals, sparkly little mini crystals. Okay? That's the back of it. Okay? If I were to clean it, which would take some time, it would look like, it would come out like this. It would come out clear like that, right? Yes, I know. So let me just, okay, so I swear, this is the last thing I'm gonna say about it, because ain't nobody, paid for any other questions yet, so I think we're okay. So let me tell you one more thing about that. So this is for anybody that might be interested in the future. It's very ambitious because it's coming up soon. But I told y'all last night when I was doing the astrology portion that we got eclipse season starting on October 14th. And it's a big eclipse on October 14th. Big, 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 big. It is an annular ring of fire eclipse that is going from the northwest, entering in through Oregon and going across, passing through Texas and out through Mexico. And its completion in terms of the season is going to be April 24th, where it's going to enter from the western portion of Mexico and cross all the way up and out through Newfoundland on April 24th. Okay, so it's going to form this big giant X across the country. These two eclipses that actually cross in San Antonio, Texas. So something big is going to go down in San Antonio, but I digress. The reason I'm mentioning this is because October 14th for the Ring of Fire eclipse, the annular eclipse, because this eclipse, another one will not happen like it until the year 2039. So this is the last big annular eclipse for the United States, for the Western Hemisphere, until 2039. So I will be going to the path of totality for this eclipse coming up in October 14th. A bunch of us are going to Utah, out to the desert in Utah to watch the annular eclipse coming up in October 14th. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because the eclipse coming up in April, its path of totality lands, literally cuts right through the city where the crystal mines are that I got these crystals. So me and some friends are actually going to Hot Springs, Arkansas in April to the crystal mines to observe, because it's at the very, 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 very top of this steep ass mountain. You got to drive up like 10 miles to get to the top of this mountain where the mine is. And there's campgrounds up there. So probably pitch a tent, camp on the lake. There's a mountaintop lake, campsite, and then not too far from it is the crystal mine. So in April, the path of totality for the major eclipse happening in April, the major solar eclipse happening in April. We're going to be in Hot Springs, Arkansas for that. So if anybody want to ride out, and you close, Letitia, you ain't but about, I'd say, you're probably about 8 hours away, an 8-hour drive, maybe not even that much from where we'll be. We'll be in Hot Springs, Arkansas, I think it's April 24th for that eclipse. Just keep that in mind. So anyway, let me go ahead. So this is about, okay, so this let me just read this little quote from this card. The other thing about this card, okay, so this card is obviously about abundance, right? This card is also challenging you to get rid of anything that is blocking your abundance. So, for example, I'm in the process of this right now. Actually, it's crazy because today I was like, I got to get rid of something. I got to get rid of stuff because it's just too much. I was like, I got to get rid of dishes. Like, why I got whole freaking sets of dishes in here when it's just me? I need one plate, one saucer, one bowl, one cup, one spoon, one fork, one knife, and I'm getting rid of everything. I had a whole attitude about it when I was cleaning my kitchen this morning. Like, I'm getting rid of everything. I only have people over once every blue moon. I'm getting rid of all the shit. But this card landing tonight, after I had this whole battle with myself, is about your abundance and removing those things that might be blocking your abundance because you're no longer grateful for them. And that's not a bad thing. This card challenges you to, survey your terrain. And those things that when you pick them up, you're not immediately grateful for, you know what? Like women got a bad habit of holding on to and hanging on to clothes. I've got that habit. Like, oh, well, I'll wear it sometime. I ain't worn it in 5 years, but I'm not going to get rid of it. I might wear it again. You feel me? And this card is saying to survey your terrain. This is a part of the reciprocity that I have been talking about all weekend since temple service on Saturday. Take and survey your terrain. Pick up something in your house. If you no longer feel grateful for it, if you no longer feel like, oh man, yeah, thank you so much. If you don't feel grateful for it, give it away. Gift it to someone else so that it becomes a blessing to someone else. So that gratitude can still be, embodied in this giving. When you give something away that you are no longer grateful for, it's no longer serving you, it's just taking up space. What you do is open up your surroundings for the abundance indicated in this card to flow freely. You see, he climbing up that ladder uninhibited, unobstructed, and with the support. Everybody's looking upwards. With the support of the ancestors embodied in the earth, all their wisdom, all their lived experiences, and nothing is obstructing his climb. So this card, really wants you to survey your terrain, be mindful of what you're holding on to, whether that's physical or material, or whether that's emotional, whether that's spiritual. Survey your terrain. That which you are no longer grateful for, give it away so that it becomes a blessing to someone else, because there's still energy embodied in this material thing that can be a blessing to someone else. And once you move those things out of the way that are taking up space, it may make the decision-making process that you are confronted with the first card that I pulled for you, it may make that decision-making process, that pros and cons list I told you about, much clearer, much less obstructed, much less blurry. Okay? So, I hope that was helpful, Letitia, and thank you for the question. All right, it is 10:28. So I will probably go ahead. What I said was I was only going to be on here for an hour, but I took up a lot of time storytelling. So, okay, great. Yay. So if anyone else has a question, for those that tuned in late, I will just put this back up on the screen. So this is particularly for people tuning in from IG, because I am not like technologically set up right now where I can do all the things. So I'm broadcasting from my phone and from StreamYard. So for those of you who are tuning in from IG, so it's $11 a question, and you can pay via Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. You can ask up to 3 questions in this call. It's $11 a question. You can ask up to 3 questions just so that everybody has an opportunity to get a card pulled on their behalf. So it's an $11 donation. You can make that donation to Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. And those of you tuning in through Twitch, PayPal, Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, you can see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, you are able to see how you can make those donations to get a card pulled to have me answer one question for you. But yeah, anyway, I just really wanted to show you these two. As soon as I pulled the card, it was like my whole body started buzzing, and I immediately thought about these ancestors I have powering up my ancestral altar. So since this week is such a big week, kicking off this time of the year where our ancestral admonition and veneration should be like to the extreme, like you should be really spoiling your ancestors this month. Flowers and candy, smell goods and incense. As a matter of fact, I made up my mind that tomorrow morning I was going to spend the day like taking everything off my ancestral altar, wiping everything down, washing, the fabric, just like really doing an overhaul because it's been a long time since I've done that. I mean, I feed my ancestors and everything. If you, and that's another thing. If you have an ancestral altar and you know that your ancestors had specific likes, while they were alive, the Facebook user, the Facebook user, who is it? Because for some reason from StreamYard, I can't see who you are. It shows everybody else from YouTube and such. But if you're a Facebook user, you have to announce yourself because it doesn't show your profile picture and it doesn't show your name. It just says Facebook user. Who is that? That's tuning in from Facebook. That just said, I sent the Cash App, but no questions though. That last card was all in my business. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Tell me who you are. I told you this deck is out of sight. Now, I've been reading from this deck, and I've tried other decks. I told y'all that last week. I've tried other decks, and they're nice, but I've been reading from this deck for 6 years, and I am telling you, even when I read from myself, I'm like, I'm like, woo! Listen, it is like, this deck is like a living, breathing organism, and that is how you choose your deck. That's how you choose your deck. If your deck is not literally speaking to you, if your deck is not literally tapping in, causing all the little side effects, hair raised, goosebumps, butterflies in the stomach, that ain't your deck. It'll talk to you just like that. This deck is out of sight. Facebook user, who are you? Who is it? Who is it? I'm trying not to go on my Midheaven. Who is Midheaven? Who is Midheaven? I can't tell, but I'm broadcasting from both my phone and my laptop, so it's hard for me to check messages, like text messages, while I'm broadcasting from my phone. So, anybody else want to ask a question? I could probably go a little longer since I took up a good amount of time storytelling. So I can probably go ahead and go. You know what? I'll just go till 11:11. Right? I'll go till 11:11. I will log off at 11:11. So we started at 9:36. I'll log off at 11:11. That'll give us a good 40 minutes. If you have any questions, this is the week, baby. If you have any questions, if you need any divination, if you need insight on how to set up your ancestral altar, you can ask me that. I will pull a card for it. You can still make the $11 donation, but I will gladly tell you very easily and very succinctly how to set up your ancestral altar. This week is a good week to do that, especially since this full moon in Aries is coming up on this Friday. What a great and wonderful way to consecrate your new ancestral altar is under the light of this full moon. Okay? And listen, if you have me tell it, everybody, even if you don't know why, everybody need an ancestral altar in their house. Everybody. Your ancestors are real. Their energy is real. Their aliveness is real. Their presence in your life is real, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you make an offering or not, does not matter. They are real. What is the purpose of your ancestral altar, your ancestral shrine? What purpose does it serve? The ancestral altar is like, let me give you a simple analogy. The ancestral altar, at least how I was taught, okay? So you've got the great God in heaven, whatever you call that entity, whatever name you give that entity is none of my business. That's between you and that entity. But the great God in heaven, the one God that created all that is, right, is busy. not trying to be oversimplistic, but the universe is vast and God is busy. So that's why we have emissaries. That's why we have Orisha. That's why we have angels. That's why we have spirit guides. That's why our ancestors are important, because our ancestors are our direct connection between the material realm and the heavenly realm. It's like our ancestors, we know, are real. We know they existed. We know they existed in the material realm, and our blood, which is alive, is all the evidence that we need to know that somebody begat us, if you will, right? When they transition from the material realm and go to the ancestral realm, they become our direct emissaries to ensure that we are heard in heaven. They do. They rally on our behalf. And we need that because God is busy. And God may or may not hear us, depending upon how busy. I'm telling you in analogies, okay? I'm telling you metaphorically, but this is what I'm talking about. And your ancestors, you know, are real. Not were real, are real. Your ancestors are real. Why do I say that? Why do I make the distinction? Because time, how we understand it, only exists right here on Earth. Nowhere else in the universe does time exist the way that it does here. When our ancestors, when we transition to the ancestral realm, time no longer exists the way we understood it in our bodies. The past, the present, and the future are at the same time, exist in real time at the same time. These ancestors, when we grab their attention by ringing the bell on our altar or pounding the stick on the ground or putting smell or burning incense, right? Or lighting white candles on the ancestral altar with the pictures of our ancestors on the shrine, with the names of those known and unknown, called to the table. We grab their attention. They can rally on our behalf. They do anyway. Now I'm going to tell you, make it plain. They do anyway. All the props that I spent in my teenage years and my early adulthood, giving props to Jesus for getting me out of shit I shouldn't have walked out of, that was my ancestors doing that. That was my ancestors covering me. They are real, not were. They are real. And the reason that they are real is because your blood is alive. Every ounce of genetic material that you possess is the culmination, the lottery pot of everything that they poured into you. And it is alive right now. It is real right now. And it can be channeled to work on your behalf. The altar functions as a portal. The altar functions as a direct telephone line. The altar, this is when you're early in your veneration. This is when you're early in the process of walking in spirit with your ancestors. But the other purpose that the altar offers is it gives you a focal point to talk to yourself. Now, y'all ain't heard, and don't nobody want to talk about that. But your ancestor shrine is an outward manifestation of all that is within you. You are the ancestral shrine. You are the ancestral altar, baby. You are the shrine. You are the child. I'm buzzing everywhere. You are the shrine. You are the altar. The outward altar is beautiful and it's necessary, especially if you're early in your walk in working with your ancestors, but it is to help hone your ability to recognize that which is on your wall, these pictures of your big mama and your big papa and the this and the that and such and such, that is nice, and it helps you to focus your energy to recognize that which is on your wall is, you can see when you stand in the bathroom and look in your eyes in the mirror. When you go into the bathroom and you mirror scribe, You look into your own eyes. You look into your own third eye. The same thing that you are calling on when you sit before your shrine is the same thing that you get elicit from inside your own body, your own consciousness, your own flesh. That's work. Now, you can accept it. Somebody probably want to fight me about it. But I have my consecrated ancestral shrine. I have my consecrated ancestral staff. I have my consecrated pots. You feel me? And I use them and I acknowledge them. But I also acknowledge that even if I don't put water on my ancestral shrine for 2 or 3 weeks, that I am my ancestors. I am my ancestors. My flesh is the culmination of everything wonderful about my ancestors. You see, we are the shrine. That's the thing. We are the temple. Oh yes, we are. We are the shrine. We are the temple. We are the portal. We are the portal. We are the altar. So, for those of you who are new or young or who have never lit a candle to your ancestors or poured water for your ancestors or called your ancestors with bells or anything, then especially in my early infancy in this tradition, the ancestral altar is important. It does help you sharpen your spiritual intuition. It does help you recognize when spirit moves through a space. You have to recognize that if you've been conditioned away from this relationship. Hello, was obligation the real reason I attended the event today? I'm not sure, Amber. I am not sure, but all things are as they should be, is what I say. Let's see. I'm gonna show this comment from Letitia. My left ear started buzzing while I'm at my altar. One day I was eating grapes, and for some reason one bounced off my lip and landed directly in the bowl placed in front of my grandmother's picture. Well. Okay. Listen, this is the time, like I told y'all last night. If you have never, I would like for you to make a contribution if you have a question until 11:11, which is about 25 minutes from now. Till 11:11, you can ask a question, and I will be pulling a card on your behalf. I will be pulling a card on your behalf from the Medicine Woman deck, which is what I read from. However, I am feeling, and I'm getting chills again, goddammit. I am feeling obligated to teach you about how to work your ancestral shrine, how to work your shrine, how to set up your shrine, your altar if you don't have one already. And because this week is so important. I mean, if you don't take nothing away from the ranting I be doing this week, if you don't take nothing else from it, please set up your altar this week. Please let the light of this magnanimous full moon hit and consecrate, power up your altar. Please do that. Please do that. I'm telling you, it. And I say all of this still within the context of the fact that we still in this Pluto return, baby. We still in this Pluto return. Pluto stations direct this month in Capricorn. You understand? Make sure your ancestors are rallying for you, rooting for you, showing up for you. Make sure you feed them. I like to give grapes to my ancestors, Letitia. I actually give them whole big things of grapes. My ancestors love grapes. My mama's side of the family, there were no drinkers. No drinkers, no drug doers. But my big papa loved coffee. He loved coffee that looked like chocolate milk. Lots of cream, lots of sugar. So I put lots of cream, lots of sugar, coffee on there for my big papa. My mama loved, you remember the little strawberry candies that every big mama in the South had in a bowl on her table, and little candies with the little strawberry paper with the little green end on it? My mama always had those. She was always sucking on those. I put little strawberry candies on my altar. On my daddy's side of the family, my dad loved beer and my dad smoked weed. I will smoke a joint with my shrine this week, by the way. I put beer in a nice little pretty glass for my dad on my ancestral shrine. If you know they had vices, if you know that they had things that they enjoyed when they were alive, when they were in the flesh, this week spoil your ancestors. Give them what they wanted. I'm actually going to cook a meal. I started cleaning my ugly kitchen this morning so I could cook a meal for my ancestors this week. So a big meal. So I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all this information, but I want to challenge y'all to make a contribution because I'm giving y'all this information. You can find it anywhere, but why look for it when I can tell it to you? So make the contribution. Drop me $11 to say thank you for the information. It is big this week. This week, every day this week. Power up. Power up. This week, what I tell y'all last night, 2 big takeaways for this week in particular. What was it? Let me down. I got stuff all over the place. What were the 2 big takeaways? Did I take that book somewhere else? It's there. The 2 big takeaways. Nope. Was what was the 2 big takeaways? I was writing in my book, taking notes. Okay. The 2 big takeaways was where is my book? Nope. It was. Let me think. It was 2 big takeaways this week was. I've drawn a complete blank. It'll come back to me. Anyway, I know that the other thing, there were 2 specific takeaways about the energy of this week. One was doing only things this week that give you pleasure. Specifically, creative expression for the sole purpose of pleasure. Creative expression this week for the sole purpose of pleasure. I did a whole long thing with y'all last night about why that was important. But this week, yes, creative expression. I took a dance class yesterday. Did I tell y'all that? I took a dance class yesterday. Got my ass handed to me. Handed to me. Yeah. However, it was so much fun. I forgot because I dance. You understand? I dance. But when you actually go take structured dance, like I took a freaking ballet class yesterday, and then right after it, a jazz class yesterday. And baby, when I say I got my ass handed to me on yesterday, learning that choreography, yeah. But I had so much fun. I forgot how much I enjoyed, like the structured aspect, the learning, the 1, 2, 3, the count. I loved it. I loved it. And I felt great in my body all day. All day. That's what I'm talking about. Creative expression for the sole purpose of pleasure this week. Whatever that creative expression is. That could be lovemaking. That could be trying something new with your partner if you have a partner. That could be seeking out a new partner, whether that's a long-term partner or a temporary partner. Tapping into that sexual creative energy for the sole purpose of pleasure this week is big. And then the other thing is we are kicking in the doors of the period of the year where the veil is the thinnest and our emissaries speak the loudest. This is the month of October. You understand this transition between Libra and Scorpio season. So I would encourage you to also just be really diligent in paying attention to your work with your ancestors. Maybe have your Akashic records open this month. That would be a good reading to have. If you are interested in having your Akashic records opened, if you have never had your Akashic records open, I have a woman that I can refer you to. She is incredible. And I do not say that often. It takes a lot for me to say that about people. Incredible. You understand? In their talent, in their skill, incredible. She is out of sight. I After her, I had one other person open my records. I said, never again, nobody but her. No one but her. So if you are interested in having your Akashic records open, this week through the end of October is a prompt. The veil is so thin, so thin. There is no telling what kind of downloads you will receive in getting your records open over the next 30 plus days. So if you're interested in having your Akashic records open, inbox me, email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. Releaseheartcenter@gmail.com, and I can forward you the sister's information who does Akashic records readings. Okay. What else? For me, tarot is not the only readings that I do. I also, with the focus in 5 elements theory, I actually do health consultations based on the system of medicine that I practice, which is 5 elements theory and traditional Chinese medicine. Okay, and those consultations, I call them consultations, but they are highly impacted by the fact that I am an oracle. They are always impacted by the fact that I listen to spirit. Let me tell you how that looks. Okay, this woman was in town. She was from Colorado, but she was in town, and she was like, a friend of mine told me I should get a treatment with you. My back is killing me. I don't know why. I haven't had any injuries or anything, but my back is killing me. Right? I was like, all right, cool. So I still told her I'm still going to do an intake with you because back pain isn't just back pain all the time, especially if you haven't had an injury. Back pain could be issues with your kidneys, and not your physical kidneys, your energetic kidneys, your spirit, the spirit of your kidneys can be why you are having back pain. And so I need to ascertain through this intake what it is that's causing this back pain. She's like, all right, cool. So she sat with me for this. It's usually about an hour that I do an intake with someone. Let me tell you what happened. I was sitting with this young woman. She was young. She's maybe 23, 24 years old. I'm talking to her, standard questions, any prior injuries, any underlying conditions, whatever. And then I start asking the 5 elements questions. Describe yourself emotionally on a regular day. Do you dream? If so, how do you dream? What time do you wake up every time? And do you wake up at night? If so, do you notice what time it is when you wake up? Like, these are the deeper questions in 5 elements theory. All of a sudden, I stopped, and I'm obviously shook. And she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes." And so whenever I am not a trained medium, I want to say that, but I know that I am open to possession. I've known that since I was little. It's happened to me. I know that I am open to possession. I know that I should probably be training to be a medium, but I don't know that I'm ready for that. I will say, in practice, I allow myself at least to receive what is happening in the moment. This has happened many times where I'm sitting there, I'm talking to the girl, she's like, "You okay?" And then I will preface, I will say, "Are you comfortable with me telling you something that might be outside the scope of this medicine?" Because when people come to me, all they know is, my friend said they got a treatment for you, they got some cupping from you, or they got whatever, some herbs from you for this pain, that pain, this, that, and this, right? But when something happens in the intake process, and I ask people, because some people aren't comfortable with a discussion about spirit or intervention or whatever. This has happened so many times where I'm like, "Are you comfortable with having a discussion or receiving information that is outside the scope of why we're here?" She said, "I am comfortable." I said, "Someone just put their hand on my shoulder." I said, what does this mean to you?" I hear from this person that's got their hand on my shoulder. Ask her about the cup. Ask her about the cup. Ask her about the cup. I said, what does that mean to you? She started sobbing. We had a perfectly normal conversation. I said, what is this about the cup? This person is telling me, ask her about the cup. She said, it's my grandmother. She said, my grandmother just passed away 3 weeks ago. And I was like, she was sobbing? I'm sobbing. She said, my grandmother just passed away. And she said, my grandmother was very ritualistic. My grandmother loved coffee. And every morning, everybody in the house knew she was awake because they would hear her little gold spoon in her coffee mug stirring clockwise 3 times before tapping it very loud 3 times. And everybody just knew Big Mama's up, so we need to be up. That was her ritual. She never yelled. She never called for us to come down. We would hear tap, tap, tap on the cup, and everybody was up. And so I have another story I could tell you that was equally powerful. This man, an elder, he was like 82, I think he was 82 years old, a Mexican man. He actually had to have a family member come with him to interpret because his English was, he lives in Mexico, but he was visiting, and his English was, not so great. I mean, we could talk, but he wanted to have somebody translate. And so he was having, typical problems for, a person that age. And I still do the intake. And this dude had been raised a devout Catholic. And so I was very mindful when I got this intervention in his intake session. And I was like, that's the standard question that I asked. If there is anything if there's anything that I ask you that you are uncomfortable answering, just ask me to move on. And I will ask you, are you comfortable with an intervention that is not within the scope of why you are here today? And he said, yes, he was comfortable. I said, you have an issue with water. You have an issue with water. And this issue has plagued you your whole life, this issue with water. And the water begs for this issue to be resolved. I said, so I don't know what your traditions are, what your practices are, what you're open to doing, what you're not open to doing. But the water is calling on you to make a serious offering, a big offering to resolve this conflict that you have with water. This old man started weeping. He starts talking to his family member. They're talking in Spanish back and forth. And she's like, oh my God, oh my God. She said, I've never heard the story. I'm going to translate what my dad just told me. That when he was 4 years old, his father was like very, very insanely strict and decided that he needed to toughen his kids up. So in order to toughen his kids up, every morning at 5 o'clock, he started waking. The man was the youngest. He was 4 years old. And he started placing his children in the well outside their house. This is in Mexico. Started placing each one of his kids in the well and telling them to tread the water so that they could strengthen their bodies. The water was freezing. They're in the bottom of this well treading water. This is where his fucked up relationship with water began. Then he said to me that the water, this is what he said verbatim, the water almost killed me 3 times in my life. The most recent was 2 weeks before I came to see you. I almost drowned in a rip current out in the ocean here. I've almost died 3 times. He said the water almost killed me. That's what he said. He didn't say I almost died. He said the water almost killed me 3 times. He said, but it's funny because when I was little, before this thing with my dad, I remember talking to the water. I remember going out to this lake near our house when I was a kid and talking to the water. Like, I remember being little and having a relationship where I would like talk to the water. I would complain to the water about my dad. I would talk to the water when I was happy. This man is 82. And I said, well, I said, the reason I know that you have an issue with the water that seeks resolution, I see Amber, that seeks resolution is because when I started listening to his intake, his basic intake, because I know this medicine, I know these spirits of these organs. Now, whether it was an external intervention or whether it was his actual kidneys talking to me, whether it was the spirit of his kidneys talking to me, the jour, that intervention came through heavy and it was clear. He has to rectify or resolve his relationship, his contradictory relationship with water, and only an only an offering will do that. This happens. This happens in practice. So I did have, so it's almost that time. I appreciate your enthusiasm, Letitia. It always lets me know that I'm not on here by myself. You understand? I appreciate you. So Amber did ask me to go ahead and explain how to set up an ancestral altar. So we have about 9 minutes left. So I'm going to do this quickly. It's going to be a very rudimentary introduction to how to set up an altar, an ancestral altar. And it can be very basic and still work for you. It is about your intention. It is about, again, this being an external manifestation of what already resides within your flesh. This external manifestation helps you to focus and get familiar with that which is already in you. Okay? So take notes. The way that now in feng shui, you don't have to get that deep with it, but it's a good idea to find out where your helpful people's corner of your house is. So in feng shui, you have a corner called your helpful people's corner. Okay, so I believe that is the most western corner of your house. It's been a long time with my feng shui. I want to say yes, it is your most western corner of your house. And that makes sense because in native tradition and in other traditions, the west is the realm of your ancestors. So that makes sense. Okay, so the most western corner of your house is your helpful people's corner of your house. That is the most advantageous place to place your ancestral altar. Then what you're going to do is you are going to get a table of some sort. It has to be made of natural substance. So wood, bamboo, clay, but not like glass or metal or anything like that. It needs to be wood, bamboo, that clay, earth, that type of shit. So that kind of table. Get yourself a natural table. Like I said, the first time I set up my ancestral altar, it was on one of those little wood, like little triangle card tables that you buy for $10 at Walmart. That was my first ancestral altar. So it doesn't have to be bougie, just wood or bamboo or clay. Okay. After you select the table, you need to get a white cloth. The white cloth cannot have been used. Buy it new. So like I told you, when I built my first altar, I just bought a white pillowcase from the same store from Walmart, right? So you need to get yourself a white cloth and a natural wood table. If you have any pictures of your ancestors, you can place them on your altar. If you do not have pictures, like I did not, when I first set up my ancestral altar, I took a piece of parchment paper. So you can get parchment paper anywhere. You can even get parchment paper from probably for free from a butcher shop. You know what I'm saying? Like that's parchment paper. So I just took a piece of parchment paper and the names of my ancestors that I could recall easily off the top of my head, I just wrote them on the paper. I just wrote them on the paper, blue or black ink. Okay. Um, a glass of water in a clear glass. You want to get a clear glass and purely circular. Like I've heard differing opinions about this, but you, from what I hear, well, the way I was trained, you don't want to get glass that's like like fragmented. You know what I mean? Like bump, like edges or anything. You just want a perfect circular glass. A glass of water and a white candle. Okay, so when you first set up your ancestral altar, especially since if you're going to do it and it's this week, um, make sure you take that altar, the whole altar, like the white tablecloth, everything, just put it out in the light of the moon or put it in a window where the light of the moon can actually shine on it. Okay. After you do that, um, light the candle. Get one of those 7-day candles, the tall 7-day candles. So get a white candle, put it on your altar, light it, and let it burn out. Do not put it out. Let it burn out. Okay. For when you're first starting to work your ancestral altar, you want to change out the water every 7 days. You don't have to do that for forever or all the time, but at least for the first month or two, you want to change your water out every 7 days. If you want to and you can start with that, just the water, the white candle, the names. And if you want to add things to it, you can add a live plant, a small live plant. You can add a spirit plate. Okay. The plate should be, it shouldn't have a lot of designs on it. It shouldn't be like crazy. I have clear plates that match the clear glass on my altar, but just little saucers about this big, and put food on it. One more thing that is important. This was always stressed to me. Okay, energetically, if you're going to put all of your ancestors, meaning your mother's side of the family and your father's side of the family, on the same table. Some people say get 2 different tables for both sides of your family, but I have my whole altar on the same table. And what I did, the way I was taught, is you energetically want to separate your father's side from your mother's side, because you don't know once your parents got married if there was conflict between the families, if mama's family didn't like daddy's family, you don't know what kind of conflict existed between those families. So if you have all of your ancestors on one table, you create an energetic divide between those families. My crystals have provided that energetic divide. I have a whole setup that energetically separates my mother's side of the family from my father's side of the family on my ancestral altar. So you can either get 2 little card tables and set up one for your mama's people, one for your daddy's people, or you can get a table big enough where you can create that energetic divide. And it can be anything. It can be anything that you put intention into it that separates this your 2 sides of the family. So you can put them on the same table or buy 2 separate tables. It doesn't matter. They're all going to go into helpful people's corner. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You can now some of the things that you can use to work your altar. You can obviously you get incense to burn on the altar. Now these are things that you can add later. Right now, you have all that you need to start your ancestral altar: the table, natural table, the white tablecloth, a white candle, clear glass for water, a plate for food offerings that you would make, the names on white paper or parchment paper of the ancestors that you know, and that's all you need to start your ancestral altar, and it worked for you. It worked for you. The first time I set up my altar, I'm telling you, I asked a specific question, and 24 hours later, I had an undeniable answer. Okay? But things that you can start doing later if you want, or now: burning incense on your ancestral altar. Again, placing living plants on your ancestral altar. Offering food. When you offer food to your ancestral altar, you leave it there long enough, to I usually leave the food for about 2 days, like a 24, 48-hour period, you do not want the food to go bad on your altar. To the point, like once it starts to quote wilt or look a little like maybe a little wonky, then you're like, okay, cool. Remove the food from your ancestral altar. You do not want the food to go bad or to mold on your altar. Remove the food after a day or two. And what I do is I take the food out to a tree because I do that. I take the food out to a tree to get rid of it because that becomes another another offering. And that's a whole another story for another day. The point was, do not let the food go bad on your altar. That too, you can do. You can just establish a regimen for how often you feed your ancestors. I'd say every 7 days. Do a spirit plate. Some people are much more methodical. Every time they prepare a meal, they take a little bit out of the pot and just put it on the spirit plate. Every time they cook, they just put a little bit on the spirit plate. That is really up to you in terms of the regularity of how you work your ancestral altar. Those are the big takeaways from that. So it is 11:12, so we're just shy of 11:11. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the evening. I will be back with you tomorrow at 5 p.m. for the reading of Pure Lust by Mary Daly. Pure Lust by Mary Daly. This is the book that we started reading last week. So that will be 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then again tomorrow night at 9:36 p.m. we'll do the Temple Oracle study. So that will be via Zoom. So I will send out that link via the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence Facebook group. And in the meantime, I will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. if you tune in for the book reading. My name is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, and I hope you were fed from this tarot reading this evening. Thank you to those who made the major donations to have your cards pulled. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for your participation. I'll see you guys tomorrow.